I can tell you that the U.S. was not involved in it. The U.S. was not aware of this incident in advance, and at this point, we're gathering information.
Well, just to begin with, in general, what does the U.S. know about what happened? There have been a series of deaths and injuries, apparently from exploding pagers. Was the U.S. have any knowledge? What does it know now, and when did it know about what has happened?
So we are gathering information on this incident. I can tell you that the U.S. was not involved in it. The U.S. was not aware of this incident in advance, and at this point, we're gathering information.
And what information have you gathered so far?
We'll continue to collect information. I don't have any public readout to give now, but we're collecting information in the same way that journalists are across the world to gather the facts about what might have happened.
Obviously, it doesn't take much guesswork who the most likely culprit would be in terms of doing this, in terms of who the enemy of Hezbollah is. Do you have any indications that to doubt that it would be Israel that was behind the...
I don't have any assessment to offer one way or other at this point.
And I know you're saying that, but in terms of what this means, I mean, there's been for a number of weeks the talk of dialing down, or at least not having a retaliation from Iran over, sort of a tit for tat, if you will. How does this play into it? Is there any message that you're sending to Israel in terms of what to do next, or for that matter to Iran, to Hezbollah, in terms of how to respond to this?
So I never want to either comment or speculate about the impact of any one incident, especially in the early stages of an incident. And I'm not going to do so here. That's been our consistent policy to try and avoid doing. I will say that our overall policy remains consistent, which is we do want to see a diplomatic resolution to the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. We want to see one that allows the tens of thousands of Israelis who've been displaced from their homes and the tens of thousands of Lebanese who have been displaced from their homes to be able to return home. And that's what we are continuing to pursue.
I'll let others do.
Yeah, Mara.
Just a couple of follow-ups on that, Matt. So how concerned are you about escalation now after this attack?
So again, I don't want to draw any specific conclusions about this incident yet or speculate about what might happen from them. I will say that, of course, since October 7th, we have seen any number of incidents that have led to the heightened risk of escalation. That has been a feature of the conflict across the blue line since October 7th. And so we are always concerned about escalation. We are always concerned about any type of event that may cause further escalation. And it remains our message to both Israel and to other parties that they need to do everything they can to try and reach a diplomatic resolution. That said, we go back to the fundamental, I know people get tired of hearing me say this, we go back to the fundamental issue we face here, which is very, very difficult to get a diplomatic resolution in the North absent a resolution to the conflict in Gaza, absent a ceasefire in Gaza, which is why we continue to push for that ceasefire, because we think it'll help make it much easier to reach a resolution.
So how do you see this incident impact the Gaza ceasefire talks then?
I think it's too early to say. Look, this is an incident that just occurred in the past few hours. We're continuing to gather information about it. I wouldn't want to speculate or make any predictions about what might happen.
A couple of things more. Hezbollah has accused Israel of sort of launching this attack. You said you were gathering information. Is there anything in that information that would lead you to sort of reject that accusation?
I just don't want to offer any type of assessment on this incident one way or the other at this point.
Are you trying to make an assessment, though? Like, in your gathering of information, are you going to be able to offer an assessment tomorrow or the next day? Or is the United States going to be completely like, this has nothing to do with me, I'm not going to?
We are continuing to gather information, and when we have something to say about it, we will certainly say it, but not before then.
Okay, one final thing. Regardless of this incident, although it's a little bit hard to sort of leave that aside right now, but over the past couple of days, we have heard Prime Minister Netanyahu especially talk about how unsustainable it is in north, in the border. And last night, the cabinet basically said military action would be needed to allow thousands of residents to go back to their homes. They've effectively expanded the objectives of the war. So does the United States see military action from Israel more likely in light of that?
So we agree that it is unsustainable for tens of thousands of Israeli families to be displaced from their homes, just as it is unsustainable for tens of thousands of Lebanese families to be displaced from their homes. All of them need to be able to return home. So then you go to the question of what's the best way to achieve them being able to return to their homes. And it is our judgment that a diplomatic solution is the best way to get them back to their homes. Because if you look at what a military conflict would entail, it's hard to see how that gets those families on either side of their border back to their homes quickly. So that's why we continue to push we continue to push for a diplomatic resolution of this conflict.
Follow up on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I follow up that? You say you're gathering information. How are you gathering that information? Do you expect to have an independent U.S. assessment to follow on Humera's question?
So I don't want to prejudge what we'll say in the days to come. I can tell you what we're doing right now is gathering information through all of the ways in which we usually gather information.
And have you been in touch with any Lebanese or Israeli officials?
I can't read out every contact that we've had in the last couple of hours. It's only been a couple of hours since this incident happened, but of course we're gathering information through diplomatic channels as well as other channels about this incident.
There are reports that the Iranian ambassador to Lebanon was also injured in this attack incident. Are you concerned about Iran taking advantage of this?
So we've seen those reports.
Have
I
you
think
seen any indications that they
first
plan
of all,
to?
apologies for interrupting in the middle of the question. I've seen the reports. I don't want to speak to what the implications might be before a report is confirmed, but certainly, as is always the case, we would urge Iran not to take advantage of any incident, any instability, to try to add further instability and to further increase tensions in the region. That has been our message to Iran since October 7th. Go ahead.
Just a quick follow-up, and you offered a line on it, but just to make sure it's airtight. So the U.S. was in no way involved in terms of supporting this operation, offering intelligence. In no way was the U.S.
Correct.
involved. Okay, and no part of the U.S. government, I understand you speak only for this department, but such disclaimers have been offered from state before. You were not given a heads up.
We were not aware of this incident, no.
What the changes in India's population and the differential growth rates.
This city has emerged.
We have a very special guest on the record.
The interview.
The role that the US side played at that point of time.
पूरी दुनिया की नजर.
Assume my phone is tapped. I can probably say hello to Mr. Modi.
आपके भारत पर है.
Episode of Know Your Candidate.
The rising confidence of India under Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Communist China is the greatest threat.
There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremist.
I'm still a little perplexed by why we.
Your daily dose of news from India and across the world. Cutting edge views and analysis. Tune into HT videos. Click on the bell icon to subscribe.